There we go. Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. This is Marie. This morning we have Tiffany Torres from the Northwest and Angelika Keene from over in the Brevard area. And they're going to be talking to us a little bit about the Smarter Lunchrooms movement. So for those of you who aren't very familiar yet with Smarter Lunchrooms, or if you are familiar, we also have some updates to go over. So Tiffany, if you and or Angelika want to unmute yourselves and take it from here, that'd be great.
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. So like Marie said, we're just going to go over Smarter Lunchrooms, very brief overview today, and we will be doing a longer webinar in the future that gets into some of the details of how to actually do a training. So this is more an update and overview, and we're excited to share some of this with you. So we can go to the next slide. Marie, are you changing slides? Oh, I think it's lagging. Okay, here we go. So just a quick agenda for the day. We're going to do what is the Smarter Lunchrooms movement overall, get into a little bit of what behavioral economics is, which is kind of the research behind Smarter Lunchrooms movement that is based out of Cornell University. And then the Smarter Lunchrooms scorecard, we'll go over that very briefly, and then give you an idea of F&P's role at the table and what we can do to advance Smarter Lunchrooms in the state of Florida.
Hello, everyone. So with the Smarter Lunchroom program, as Tiffany said, it is a program out of Cornell University. And what it is looking at the lunch line as a kind of from a perspective of a retail. What do you see? What is available to you? And the idea is using those techniques that they've used in the private sector for years to promote and make the healthy choice the easy choice. So if we could, next slide, please. So it kind of breaks it down into different areas. Your first is your nudges or your choice. So a nudge is like a subconscious behavioral opportunity that encourages you or makes it easier to select that fresh fruit or vegetable or the item. The goal is then to, of course, increase consumption because it's not nutrition until it's eaten, as we know. It also has the benefit of potentially increasing reimbursable lunches and sales items, which is always a factor for the F&S department and overall. It increases and maintains student choice, which is always, and all these initiatives are low cost to free strategies to make the overall cafeteria better. So that's kind of the core ideas and structure behind the Smarter Lunchrooms. Next slide, please. So with that, their research comes from the research of behavioral economics. And within behavioral economics, like I said, this is something that the private sector has used for many years. Basically, what Cornell did is they took that data and that information and tailored it specifically for cafeteria workers. So it breaks down into 4 areas that they're evaluating. And by evaluating, I mean kind of changes opportunities. You'll see momentarily and a little bit later in the presentation about the scorecard. That's what they actually evaluate, but this is kind of their mindset when they're having these conversations. So for example, there's packaging. What does the item look like? Did it, is it in a pretty colorful bag? Does it have a character that's familiar to students on it? Things like that. You have the marketing aspect, like how are you promoting and encouraging the item? The overall atmosphere is looking at the cafeteria as a whole. Just like many of you guys know, when you go to a restaurant, you kind of look around to see what does the restaurant look like? Are the floors clean? Things like that. It's the same idea with the cafeteria aspect. And then your final is your prompting. What are the cafeteria managers actually saying and doing and interacting with the kids? Just like when you go to a restaurant, your waiter or waitress always gives you this special. that's trying to encourage you to select those choices. So it's kind of using those same opportunities. Next slide, please.
Right, so as Angelika said, behavioral economics is nothing new. It's used all the time in the retail sector and in restaurants, but we're using behavioral economics and applying that to the school cafeteria. And one of the tools that is vital to doing this evaluation is the Smarter Lunchroom scorecard. So the scorecard itself is a list of 60 simple, low-cost, or free ideas that increase participation and consumption of healthy food while decreasing waste in the school cafeteria. And so it includes a lot of those nudges that she just mentioned, and it's free to all schools. So this is something that you could use in a pre and a post way. Pre meaning that you or the school nutrition or food service staff could go in and do an evaluation of what's going on right now using the scorecard. And then after you implement some of those nudges, go back and do the scorecard again. And the scorecard, a lot of people get kind of hung up on this and they think, oh, I need to get 100%, A+, you know, but it's actually designed so that you can't get 100%. So there's a lot of things that are easy, low cost, no cost solutions that are on the scorecard that you could change, such as moving the milk right when you're there doing the evaluation. But then there's some things such as student participation that might take a little bit longer to implement. So you can go to the next slide. And these are the different scorecard categories. So we have focus on the fruit, vegetable variety, moving more white milk, salad, increasing sales of reimbursable meals, the lunchroom atmosphere, student involvement, and school community involvement. So like I said, something simple like moving the milk to the first item that you see when the students are going through the line as opposed to the chocolate milks. That's something that is more of a quick solution versus lunchroom atmosphere and student involvement, getting students to hang artwork in the school cafeteria, or even having menus posted throughout the school in order to involve the broader community. Those are things that might take a little bit more time. So it's really just a comprehensive approach to smarter lunchrooms. Next slide. And here's just a sample of what the new scorecard looks like. The scorecard has been updated within the last about 2 years now. So we are using exclusively this one at this point in time. And it's a lot shorter than it used to be. So that's good news. Next slide. And then I also wanted to mention in the early childcare sector, Cornell has developed a smarter mealtimes movement. And they've worked really closely with the National CACFP Association to do this. So there are materials that you all can use right now, even in some of your programming with early childcare centers. Even if you're not, going all the way and doing a scorecard, you could use something like the alphabet fruit and veggie signage that they have online, where there's a different poster in English and Spanish for a fruit or vegetable beginning with the first letter of the alphabet. Those are really neat. And then they also have 3 smarter mealtime strategies for caregiver posters that we can use in our work with early childcare. So Smarter Mealtimes is simply an adaptation of the Smarter Lunchrooms movement, but it's for childcare environments. And like I said, there is a scorecard, which is a little bit shorter, 20 simple and inexpensive strategies that promote healthy eating in childcare settings. Next slide.
So what can we do with it? So we gave you a quick kind of introduction to what is Smarter Lunchrooms, what is Smarter Mealtime, and then the question everybody always asks is, that's great, thank you for sharing, how does that affect me, or how do I use these tools? So there's actually a number of different ways that you as program assistants, EPMs, can be involved in this process, as well as our specialists are. So if you guys could, next slide, please. So our general FNP can provide resources are training, resources, and expert advice. So we're going to break them down individually. So with training, there's 2 different levels of training. The first is Tiffany and myself had the opportunity last year to travel to Cornell University and actually participate in what they call technical assistance provider training. What's nice about this is this gives Tiffany and myself the opportunity to train F&P staff. So we can, if this is a program you're interested in or you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to Tiffany or myself to provide a specific training just to you. And as Tiffany stated in the beginning, we are in the process of recording a longer webinar, so providing some training so that you guys will be able to access those on your own. So there will be more to come about that. So that's internal training. We also have the opportunity for external training. And this is where I want to encourage you to reach out to your PSE team, as your PSE team has received training from Tiffany and myself. Some are more comfortable with working with Smarter Lunchrooms and have been doing it for a while now. Some this is newer to, so it would be up to your individual PSE contact, but what they feel comfortable with. But they've been trained so they can actually go out and work with external partners. So they can work with F&S departments. It could be a specific cafeteria manager. It could be a partner. It could be a variety of different things depending on what your interest level is or what your county's interest level is. So I cannot stress those enough. Internally, you would talk to Tiffany or I, but for anything external, there's a lot of great resources and expertise on the PSE team, so I strongly encourage you to reach out to your contact. So then we move on to resources. And by resources, we have all the handouts and access and PowerPoints and other things, but there's also a next area opportunity. And it said that in most of the changes are low cost or no cost, meaning that some have cost associated to it. And that is where F&P has the opportunity to provide some of those cost-specific items, such as one of the initiatives or goals on the checklist is fresh fruits or vegetables, and one strategy is putting it in a large, attractive fruit bowl right by the register. So this would be something that is a item or a resource to the F&S department that F&P could provide to them, provided they are 51% and reduced lunch and they meet all our criteria of standards of things. So, but this is just one example of many opportunities. So when you're having these discussions with your PSE specialists and you're having these discussions with your counties, what do they need? What are they interested in? We may be able to provide that for them. Then you have, your next is expertise. Maybe they have all their resources, maybe they've already had the training, but they need somebody to actually go out and help complete the scorecard. That is something else we can do. So that's where that expertise advice comes in. Maybe they've already completed the scorecard and they're just looking for planning on what is the simplest low-hanging fruit. So you have that available as well. And keep in mind, you may also have some SCS agents that have received this training or are in the process of becoming trained in this. So look at not just within F&P, but extension as a whole, what is available to me or to us. So next slide, please.
I just wanted to note quickly too that EPMs can play a vital role in implementing Smarter Lunchrooms trainings as well. Whether that's setting up the training and having those localized relationships or actually implementing some of those nudges like hanging posters in the cafeteria. I know EPM in the Northwest has been a huge help to me as we've done this work. So just wanted to note that. So in addition to the resources, training, materials, all of that, we also wanted to give you a quick update about the state collaborative that is currently in the works. So we have been in touch with the national office and are in the process of forming a state collaborative with other regional partners in the state of Florida that do work in early childcare as well as school cafeterias. So the benefits of the state collaborative once it is formed include organization, awareness, and streamlining of resources, cost sharing, mutual support, troubleshooting, and just a broader coverage of schools across the state. So our goal is really to continue to reach as many schools as possible with Smarter Lunchrooms, both schools that qualify for F&P services as well as those who don't. And so by partnering with other organizations, we're able to reach the schools that also don't qualify for F&P services. And we also get branding. So you can see that little logo there. That's Montana's Smarter Lunchrooms Movement logo. And then more broadly, it's a direct line to the Smarter Lunchrooms Movement National Office at Cornell. So we'll get consistent information, we'll be able to participate in collaborative check-in meetings, receive ongoing support, have influence on the movement as it continues to evolve, and other professional development opportunities as they come. So keep an ear out, and we will continue to update you as the collaborative evolves. Next slide. So that's our brief overview of Smarter Lunchrooms and a couple of updates. Here are some relevant links if you would like to look at more Smarter Lunchrooms resources. I do encourage you to go on their website. Like I said, even if you're not doing a training per se, there are some useful tools out there that you could use in your direct nutrition education or in our indirect work with schools. So thank you for tuning in. And if you have any questions, we'll feel free to take them now.
Well, thank you, Tiffany and Angelika. That's great information. And if anyone does have a question, we'll stick around here for another minute or two. Otherwise, thank you, and everyone have a wonderful weekend.